A break opportunity for GRUT in that first point, and I don't know how many they will get. Would have been great for them to connect on that, but as you said, many players underneath that disc and only hits the sideline.
I'm sure GRUT have faith in their ability to generate turnovers, but it is tough against a often machine-like German offense, although they did go 3-0 down against Great Britain and could well have been 4 as they're putting it deep to the big man, and Lola Dam does enough to prevent him going up quite as he wanted, and Holzer couldn't bring it down. Another turnover from the Germans, and they were shaky in their semi-final as well, but of course they bounced back to win that. Bass hammers over the top. Steneker gets the mark sold all the way down the river, but Kuschel picks himself up. Now going around, towing the sideline here is Brouwer. Back to Janssen. Two of them playing it between themselves at the moment. Janssen for Lola Dam. Haven't seen much of her yet this season, but back on the GRUT roster for Windmill. Bass of handy addition themselves. Goes up line and on a high stall, trying to just float one over the top, looking for Brouwer, but Holzer this time gets his revenge.
Yeah, Holzer goes up high and early, reading that disc perfectly and putting it into play for Germany.
Prien going towards the far sideline, and again, for whatever reason, maybe the game starting a little bit later than perhaps they had originally envisioned, Germany just, they do look pretty rusty, but GRUT have got to start taking these opportunities sooner rather than later, you feel. Here's Bass. Bass wanting to gun it. There's a couple of defenders there, and what a ridiculous block that is from Kuschel. Good Lord. And I'll let you finish, Christina.
He has been flying around that point, trying to get a layout block on the mark, and will take an injury substitution that might have put all that air out of his lungs with that flying to the sky.
Yeah, I mean, it was a ridiculous block. Understandable that he might have winded himself on landing. There's no lack of commitment from either side, but both struggling to really generate rhythm in the offense. Still count rising. Holzer finds the option underneath. This is Mariforsa. Sister Miriam also on the team. Holzer. Looking for an option. Threads it through to Volchak. Into the backfield for Holzer. Again, struggling maybe to generate the separation they like downfield. Holzer to Volchak, who bodies out Kulin. Back to Holzer, who's on the floor. Cagey start this, the Germans. There's the deep shot from Holzer, trying to blade it over the top for Wallace, and he could only just tip it round the corner.
I thought that disc was going to slow down, but it really didn't. It got out even faster, and Wallace with the speed trying to get there, but can only mack it away further.
A fourth break chance on this point for GRUT. Can they finally make one count? A little bit of inside shape on that one to Janssen, who's floating this one up. Steneker gets position and climbs the ladder brilliantly. Now shooting down the far sideline. Prien tips it away from Lola Dam.
Making use of that far side. GRUT and Steneker had maybe 3 different options to take, opting to go with the up the line shot to Lola Dam, but didn't really see Nikki Prien in pursuit and macking that away.
I mean, there are superstar options all over the field, and a little bit of rain. This was not in the forecast.
It's not what I call. I said it was perfect Frisbee condition and a dry tournament. Is lying to all of us.
Hogan back to Holzer. Holzer again trying to see if he can find a deeper option available, but gains a lot of yards on that underneath cut into the chest of Hogan. High rising one, not a problem though for Dennis Holzer. Volchak can step into this one, put in the air underneath it. Wallace is again the target. Had a towering grab against Great Britain, comes up big again here, dishing off to Priyan. Outside the end zone. Not liking what she sees downfield, dumps off to Mary Forster. Try and see if she can find that break down the sideline. No, back to Holzer, who just loses his footing and picks himself up again. Cheeky little footblock attempt there from Epstein. Now Holzer rolling this one out in front of Hogan. Hogan towards the break side. Oh, he just sits that one out there for Holzer. And the marathon first point finally comes to an end, or does it? No, because Holzer wasn't in, but Wallace is, and Germany finally get on the board. You do wonder if you'll see a point at all for the rest of this game that has that many turnovers in it.
To be honest, I would really wish for this to be the only point with 6 turnovers in each.
8, I think, in the end.
Yeah, so 8 in the end. And like, I would really love for them both sides to clean up their game a bit, because they're, you know, used to this intensity. They are as well, and if they, though I love the contested stuff, but then just you have to really watch.
Often we try and waterproof our tech equipment.
Puts Olon on the field for the first time.
That one, oh, was it past the bidding defender? No! The big frame of Tim Stewart gets the layout block underneath.
He had one of those in the semi-final against GB. Gotta watch that.
He loses his hand in the process, and they're just going to remove that from the field of play. Caro Tisson, we see her do work in the club season in the women's division with Yaka, playing mixed here for our home nation, Germany. Here's Lurking, who we actually didn't see in the semi-final yesterday. And the swing is too far out in front for Tisson. Both sides, again, you can see that they are not at full flow out here. A combination of offensive miscues, defensive pressure. We'll see. Ten Harkin wanted the first shot down the line. He's going to take the second. Blasman has position on this. I thought maybe he opened the door there for Stewart. Minard continues through. There's the hammer over the top of Tisson into the end zone for the score.
That was and a stall out called on the other side of the field.
Then we're going to have the discussion. It's Venderholm who was on the mark of Ten Harkin.
He did have the disc in his hand for quite some time.
Obviously, with the headphones on, I can't quite hear precisely how long he had it.
Of course not, but you get that feeling. And the people counting, I think someone did a study on it once, and came out that it was approximately 7 seconds in real life.
We timed one under 23s in 2015 that was 4 seconds, and it was uncontested.
That was an Austria game, I remember that. I think Austria.
We had a really low one in a GB Germany Open game as well. I think both sides could barely get the numbers out. The counts got so fast with the intensity. Accepted stall, so turnover stands.
And what a change.
From it being one apiece, GRUT give another red zone opportunity to Germany.
They get it back right where they lost it. So I think that was actually the first throw that didn't come off really.
Tisson to pick up, being marked by the Russian, Tizik. Swung into the center, here's Erdmann. Back to Tisson. Low, out in front, Venderholm. Wants to break the mark around. Tisson can't find the continuation. Now it goes back to Venderholm. Venderholm, with a delicious low release. Pumped in to Johanna Erdemann. And the break goes Germany's way. They lead 2-0.
There was great red zone offense in the second attempt there. Germany really playing quick offense, but never stressing themselves, really like faking, and seems like they know exactly where the continuation will come to and what their plan is in general.
It's often, sometimes you see teams in the red zone, they'll swing and they'll dump and they'll swing back and forth, and eventually you need to find a way to pull the trigger and exploit. Maybe it might not be a big gap, but there will be a gap sooner rather than later. And it's a wonderful throw that utilized the full width of the pivot from Venderholm for the goal. Who, Venderholm, by the way, has got an awful lot of tape holding that right cleat together.
It's fashion, I think. It's a fashion choice.
I think in the semi-final, there was someone who I think maybe the shoe kind of exploded. Was that Venderholm?
Yeah, it was.
I was going to say, maybe if you got yourself some Tokai cleats, that wouldn't happen.
Probably not.
Not
like that.
I'm just saying. Ten Haken finds Janne Jansen. Minard wants to gun it down this sideline for Coularts. We know she's got closing speed, but not that much. And at any rate, I'm not sure that it's quite got the edge that Minard wanted.
Yeah, I think she released that a bit too early, just a split second for it to make the outside curve instead of creating, an arch to run into, to float into Coularts, who was running towards that. So Germany is going to pick up around the brick mark on the sideline where they just went out of bounds.
Wallace tight on the sideline. Blasman being particular about the spot. Lays out on the Forsters. Blasman, and is thrown right into the centre in a congested area. And Janne Jansen comes through the traffic to knock it away.
The intended target probably didn't know that there was defensive pressure on their side.
Ten Haken, inside break to Walt Jansen. Monos screaming for it across. Instead, it's a short one. Janne Jansen, Minard. Again, they're finding a lot of love down the inside channel. The throw was a little bit fluttery, but Jansen went with one hand and he didn't gather it cleanly. These are such uncharacteristic miscues from both sides, in all honesty.
Yeah, it feels like a sense of urgency is displayed by both teams early in that match. Quite unnecessary. Just gotta, take a timeout and regroup a little bit. So I think there's a pick call on the field that it will stop play. As Germany intercepted that or pick it up quickly, people wanted to run, but there was a ball of players.
Wallace collects underneath, then dishes off. Air put underneath it by Turk. And Ten Haken's there to gobble it away. Kuhn was who we wanted. Ten Haken was who we found. And whoa, my goodness, Molnar. Flor Coularts should not have got away with that. Maybe she didn't get away with that.
Yeah, that seemed like it was down, and he just had his hands underneath it, and it's impossible for us to tell, of course, but we can look at the replay.
Yeah, I would definitely require a second and maybe even third or fourth look at it. Again, that's a miscue that you just it's a simple kind of swing underneath.
Call retracted. This will stay with Molnar.
Yeah, I think they seem happy to take him at his word. First season playing with GRUT. Studying in Delft, played with Force Electro at World Clubs last year. ULTI.TV's own as well. Do not hasten to add. Here's the rip from Coulards again. The edge on it is wrong. Ten Harken tried, but it's never there.
Yeah, it was always floating out of bounds. I like the position of like throwing from that position. You just gotta arc it back a little bit.
They're trying a lot of these sideline shots and you get so little margin for error on them. The wind as well is pushing them a little bit towards the cameras here. Turk being mocked by Ten Harken, swings into the centre for Blechler. Nice toe in there by Kuhn. Kuhn wants to open it up downfield, looking for Wallace. Did he toe it in? I'm not convinced that he did, and that he might be calling the force out.
Contact with Janssen. That disc, of course, along the sideline. I would have loved to see like a throw into the middle, switch field position, not making that space smaller and smaller, tighter towards the sideline.
Yeah, both of these sides are, they're like, well, would like to see them just utilize the full width of the field a little bit more. Those of you kind of don't see many force outs. If you make the catch, but you feel that you were caused to be out of bounds or not in the end zone when you would have been, as a result of contact initiated by another player, you can call a force out, which would mean that you keep the, essentially, the catch was fine, but I only landed out of bounds because of the contact, and thus I get the disc in bounds where I would have been if you hadn't made the contact. It's going to be contested and sent back to Marika Kuhn here.
A fair outcome in that situation.
Kuhn, this time she is looking for the inside option. Lurking, wants to put a bit of air underneath it. For Blechler, towing the sideline. I had no angle on it from here. Some German players on the sideline seem to be indicating that they didn't think he had it in time. And GRUT get the disc back. Yeah, another one they'd be interested to have a look at on replay later. A few of those at this point. Janssen faking downfield, skyscraping blade across. Oh, Ten Harken. It just lost it at the end because it was behind his head.
Germany again quick to pick up and putting that disc into play.
Wallace. To Vida now. Now Miriam Förster, and the layout from Lurking couldn't get there. Janssen wants to strike quickly. Molnar charges downfield, but he's not going to be thrown to, well, at least not yet. Minard. Lovely jink there from Molnar. Pumps the backhand. Wants to try and find a way to break it off the line here if he can, but he's got an easy under to Janssen, so we'll take it. Janssen to Ten Harken. Leading pass out there, floating up for Molnar, and it just kept on rising. You can see the frustration out there for both sides as the disc is thrown right back to Ten Harken.
What a mess.
Yeah, can't really put it any better than that, Christina. It is scrappy, messy out there. It's scrappier than Scooby's little brother right now. And Minard finally does the sensible thing and calls the timeout. I feel like everyone could do with a good old mental reset. So we'll take one in the booth as well. And we'll see you after these short breaks. Aerial view there of the mixed final at Windmill 2023. I'm not sure what kind of game I was expecting, Christina, but it wasn't this.
I am sure. I did not expect that whatsoever. Not at all. Minad putting the disc into play. Mona not marked at all.
Minard just outside the end zone now is Blasman. GRUT finally on the board. It just surprises me that it took either side so long to say, look, this is frankly not good enough from us, and call the timeout. And as soon as they do, GRUT kind of pull their socks up and just get it done. 5 turnovers aside in that point. There were 3 possessions where neither side completed a pass.
Imagine that. Throwing straight into the defense again.
Like,
but
for sides of this quality, that just doesn't really happen.
no, and I'm really hoping for us and for them and for everyone watching that they clean that up, because it's a big contrast to what we saw in the last game in the Open final. There was a combined single-digit turnovers.
Maybe a few more on that, but it was pretty like already we've had. Let me do some quick maths here. 21 turnovers in 3 points, 7 turns a point on average, and you would get games from these teams where you don't see 7 turnovers all game. Like weird games out there. But maybe it's the pressure of the final. Maybe it's tight defense. Who knows? Hogan putting air underneath the rip. Holzer, the big man, is the target. Holzer, oh, he could only tip it on. Potential opportunity to get in behind and lay out for the grab. There is a foul, I think, called here.
Dan Epstein, the defender, on that. And it was a bit floaty, wasn't it?
Wasn't the best executed put from Hogan, I think.
Oh, so many players underneath that disc. 3 GRUT defenders right with it. And Holzer having position, really getting up and touching the disc as well, but can't quite get there. Maybe due to contact.
Certainly that'll be what they're discussing at the moment. Obviously with being out there, without being out there on the field, not quite privy to them. Is going to be an accepted foul, so Holzer gets it from the front of the end zone. And oh, the floaty one just past Issa Munkau into Nikki Prien. 3-1 Germany, and a clean hold, but I've seen a lot cleaner clean holds. I've seen a lot cleaner dirty holds as well.
Yeah, a bit of a discussion stopping the flow of the play, but finished off nicely with that high release backhand dish pass to the open side. I know people that would criticize that because of the fact that you're throwing a backhand to the open side when you should probably throw a flick instead. But I actually like that quite a lot. Like, I do that quite a lot. Don't mind it. I've seen it go wrong time and time again, but hasn't done that for me yet. Haven't really.
So the shot from Hogan, do we think it was a bad decision to put it up, or a good decision that he just floated way too much? Or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both, for sure. I do think that it's about spacing as well, because in my opinion, if it's only Holter and no one else, and the defense doesn't manage to, defense doesn't like help. There's not 3 defenders of GRUT around. Maybe the Holter has more time with a foul. It doesn't happen.
That is a low, ripped huck from Blasman that Tizik reads well. But all sort of traffic down there. Can they get reorganized? Nice reach and grab there by Janssen. Minard comes to the open side. Looked away. Back to Molnar. Blasman wants the blade over towards the far side. Into the bucket of Walt Janssen for the score.
This is a lot cleaner from GRUT this time around. A zippy huck, but it works out for Tizik. If you have the speed, go ahead and take it.
The one thing I worry about that huck is that, yes, it was completed, but you're going for those low zipped hucks. There were a lot of receivers there. You know, is that not dicing with danger that a player's able to kind of, to not even necessarily see, but hear it coming, get a hand up and knock it away? I think it'd have to be a potential concern.
Yeah, definitely could, especially when you expect those 7 defenders on the field really like being aware. You can expect that from a national team, really giving their all. Especially with the caliber of defenders that Germany has. We've seen that, like them clamping down, getting a stall out because of their good pressure. So yeah, maybe something they'll have to implement a little more.
Yeah, both sides can absolutely clean things up here. Hogan catching the pull. First pass just outside the end zone to Volchak. Looks like they're playing a little bit of dominator at the moment with Hogan, Volchak and Mari Förster in the backfield. The kind of 3-player weave. Now they begin to initiate downfield. Volchak to Priin was a little bit of a riser. Whitcomb thought about flashing in there. Holzer. Compression sleeve on his right calf. Opening it up again, this time Hogan rather than the thrower is the receiver. That looked to me like there was a fair bit of shoulder barging in that from Hogan. Of course the crowd don't like it, but I'll be honest, I see what Mawson's saying here. I
am seeing it as well, but I don't know. Of course it was contact, but look at him run by Hogan, really. Hogan didn't read the disc. The defender just ran after him and didn't really play the disc, but played the person.
Hogan's on the right side for the disc, but it definitely looks to me like he's pushing off with his arm there. In the end, he's retracting it in the goal stands. I still think he's well within his rights to at least call it and have the discussion.
Of course, I'm not saying don't call it or not have the discussion. I might just, yeah, I don't think with he could have done anything to get that still, because the position was very good from Hogan's side.
So 4-2 German lead after the first 3 points were messy. GRUT took the timeout, and we haven't seen either side turn over since.
Yeah, clean.
Almost like sometimes what you just needed was a bit of calmness and composure.
Oh, wait.
Who knew? Apart from seemingly everyone in the stadium, apart from the 14 players on the field. That's how it happens sometimes.
To be fair, it's more than just the 14 players on the field, because it wasn't only 1 point, it was 2 to 3 points.
And it could easily just be a coach or a captain on the sideline saying, guys, we've got them to use.
Are you allowed to do that even? I'm not so sure.
You can't signal a timeout yourself, but most teams will have they'll have a code word for it. Like where I grew up in Brighton, our code word was always Roland, but like they'll have a thing that's like take the timeout when you need to. Grew up in the ultimate sense. That's just like I point out. Swing towards Janssen. Pumps the big backhand. Doesn't like the underneath cut. And on a high stall this time, I think he sees no option but to punt it deep. And why not when Tom Blasman answers the call like that?
Schulet in pursuit, nearly there, but can't quite go between Blasman and that disc. Blasman usually in the handler spot for GRUT, taking over a bigger role this season, but shows that he can also just run and catch it deep.
So 4-3, a nice, relatively sensible game of Ultimate has broken out now. Interesting to see, having been given so many earlier opportunities and neither side really taking advantage of them, whether GRUT can earn that break back, bring us on serve. Of course, they'll need a couple if they want to turn the game in their favour.
We've had a big discussion about whether choosing offense or defense to start the game makes a big difference in tight-fought matches, and I would agree that it does make a difference, but in a game like this, you can blame that on every single one of those turnovers any of the teams threw.
See a lot of buzz going on about various decision makings on the field in the YouTube chat. If you want to join them, then make sure you like and subscribe. And tell everyone in chat why they're wrong. Volchak threw that behind. Here is maybe the GRUT chance, the break chance that GRUT needed. My brain can not get ahead of itself. Pinging it down the sideline, and that is just a straight overthrow that time. Can't attribute that to anything else than just an error from Weber van den Brink.
Yeah, that disc was very zippy into just up the line, the offensive player running in the wrong angle to being able to collect that disc. It would have taken such a big layout to even get anywhere close.
Wide open after a little bit of peeling off for the coverage to stop that deep cut from Volchak that came anyway. Volchak bodies out, and Prien just watches it flow over them and into her arms. That is a veteran move. Like, I'm not getting involved with this. I trust my own eyes. Also means that if there were any tips, she'd have been in position to collect them. Prien, I think, is going to call a foul on the mark. I feel like it's been quite a physical game.
The intensity is high, players really fighting hard for that disc.
But I'd like to see them fighting maybe more metaphorically than literally at times.
I think there is a margin of physicality that is okay. And calling them out on it is perfectly fine. It's just sad that it stops play and stops flow for both teams. Yeah,
obviously Ultimate is theoretically a non-contact sport, but sometimes some sides don't mind playing on the edge of that a little bit more. Wind picking up a little bit. Prien leads Holzer into space, back to Prien. Not in the end zone just yet. Can she force her way over? No, back to Holzer. Hogan tries to plant his way out of the backfield, jinking and jiving. And now Holzer eventually gets Hogan. Van den Brink can only contain him for so long, 5-3.
Hogan made maybe 6 or 7 cuts, and Van den Brink was there every single time. He went out of the space, reset, and then it was perfectly positioned to get that front cone score. It
was very much, we are going to give you this space. As long as it takes, we'll reset it until you get free there for the score. I wonder if maybe you can have a GRUT defender just flash in there a little bit more, just to maybe, if anything, convince Hogan to clear out, but then you do open yourself up to potential breaks on the dump swing.
I think with the throwing prowess that Germany mixed bring, you wanna have that the battle with their feet, not give them open throws in any direction where you can't really defend well downfield. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather take them, have them make a really bad and hard-fought break pass than giving them
the easy release valve. No, it's a very justified point of view. Glassman will get it from the brick mark. Ten Harken and Molnar flanking him. And 4 females downfield for GRUT. Janne Jansen, I should say. Anne Menard, Floor Kularts, and Elisa Tizik on the far side. Ten Harken and now Kularts. Kalartz opens up the arm, puts the air underneath it, looking for Menard. Oh, two defenders there converge and get the tip.
Friendly fire from Germany, both players colliding there but tipping the disc in the process. Great help defense there out of Förster.
The wind is definitely picking up a little bit. There is going to be a discussion, by the way. Again, I don't think that's the shot from Kalartz. They're going for these sideline options, put air underneath it. No foul call, which I think from my initial perspective was right. And I've been kind of on the Anna Menard bandwagon for years, but I always feel she's kind of so much better as like the sensible thrower on GRUT, who kind of is the anchor to their offense rather than the player I want kind of reeling in those deep shots. Molnar with the layout block, clean as a whistle.
And catch that next time, please.
Catch your Callahans. Can Blasman force it over? Oh, we got creative with the pivot and found it to Kalartz. But that's all about the block from Molnar. Like, he could sense the opportunity was there. I think the crowd sensed it was coming as well. And Molnar delivered.
Yeah, not the best reset setup for Germany, making it running battles under, not really cutting before. And that's just too cheap. GRUT will not give you that option. You gotta move your defender first. You can't expect that a one-on-one run towards the disc will be enough. And Thyssen there with a rather high stall throw. Molnar with beautiful layout. So one break back for GRUT, and we're on serve.
There's been a lot of maybe suggestion in the chat. I'm hoping, sarcastically, that it's about the Eurodisc. I'll be honest, a lot of these, if you're putting that down to the Eurodisc, I feel like my understanding of physics might be different to yours. Rolling pool. Kuchel, who came off injured earlier, back on the pitch. Start it from the front of the end zone. Side stack to initiate from the Germans. Swinging across to Holzer. Holzer has Priyan charging underneath, but instead he wants to wind up the deep shot. Fowler pass. Like, almost before he released it, knew that was coming.
Playing a game of catch.
Walt Janssen, can he power the D-line offense to a turn? He's going deep. Oh, what a throw that is to Joris Steneker. GRUT earn their break back. And the Germans, it was a disaster of their own making. I don't know why Holzer went for the deep look when I thought Priyan was wide open underneath.
I think the sideline didn't know either. And you could see that they were already setting up everything, thinking that a deep shot was going to come up, and it did. Can't be the only option for this German side, as we see a timeout called on a field.
Yeah, we are back on serve now in this game at 5 apiece. I don't think there is a timeout. It looks like they're getting the 7 back ready to go out there again.
Just everyone supporting their teammates, running towards the pitch, towards the side.
Wanting to make sure they get all the information they can to help their team from the sidelines. Even if you're not on the pitch, doesn't mean that you're not involved.
So yeah, Germany really have to clean up that offense, but we see them have struggled with that offense time and time again in the early stages of games, and then with the business end approaching, they have gotten cleaner and more thought through with their decision making. That GB game, for example, in the semi-final, you can watch that back.
You can indeed. All of ULTI.TV's games that we've streamed this weekend from Windmill, and of course the third drone stream going around the tournament, are available to watch on our YouTube channel for free whenever you want. Hogan. Oh, not past the bidding Epstein. He got just enough of it to get it to flutter through the grasp of Holzer. Dunshern picks up, GRUT looking for their first lead. Boss back to Dunshern. The Austrian goes now out wide. Epstein finds a little soft seam through to Dunshern. Dunshern, Steneker catches the second goal in as many points. It's another break into Steneker's arms, and GRUT lead for the first time at 6-5.
3 points in a row give GRUT an energy flow that high that they can just jump up on, and they're really in the driver's seat of this game so far.
Now this has got to be the timeout from Germany. I'm pretty sure that it is. So we'll take a breather here on the sidelines. You see a replay of that D from Epstein, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to a slightly blustery Amsterdam here for the last game of Windmill 2023, the mixed final. GRUT now in charge, 3 on the spin to take a 6-5 lead over Germany, their first lead of the game. Bass with the pool, so 4 female matching players for each side on this point. That's a Hogan. This looks to me like a little more 3-player dominator style weave. Hogan, Volchak and Madu Förster with the initiating 3. Volchak now trying to initiate players underneath, get more of the offense involved. Not finding it though just yet. Hogan into the center for Priyan. Priyan.
They're just now going back and forth and not looking to go deep space or just like score it early, but rather playing. Oh, and as I said, the hut goes up, Priyan underneath it.
Oh, and she just dropped it. That is so rare, a mistake like that out of the hands of Priyan.
We've seen a rare mistake after another from both sides, and GRUT just quicker to clean it up, maybe due to the atmosphere and how at home they feel here at Windmill in this final.
Yeah, they cleared out the deep space well for either Priyan or Volchak. Priyan went for it and couldn't gather it in. Mawson, now Suzanne Slurb. Epstein wanted the around break, doesn't see it. Might take it at the second time of asking to walk Janssen, and does. Bit of a metronomic quality now with the two of them swing it back and forth in the backfield. Finally they want to open up the arm. They're looking for Dam. Priyan has position, and Priyan tips it out the back of the end zone.
Not many people that can run with Lola Dam that way. And Nikki Priyan redeems herself with the mac of the disc. Just gets her fingertips around it, and that is enough to stop.
That was all she needed. as you say, matched Dam stride for stride. That is so hard to do.
Loda Dam, of course, picking up with GRUT for Windmill.
Which seems weird because obviously that's how she made her name. But yeah, taking the majority of the season off, but couldn't not come on home field, right? It's startling kind of how well athletically matched Dam and Prien are. Volchak leading down the line. Bake looking in field. Back to Holzer. Holzer surveying his options. Kushal's the target. Kushal again putting air underneath it, and it just teased and rope-a-doped everyone in and left Volchak. A most unorthodox catch, but she nailed it.
Sliding on her back. Gets that disc and runs it down easily. Kushal with that zippy throw. You can see many GRUT defenders trying to get a tip on a disc, maybe mac it somewhere else. Bass getting super close there, but Volchak going soccer layout, kind of.
It was unusual, but it worked. By the way, I'm getting confirmation, apparently, that it's not the only time we're going to see Lola Dam this season, because they will be back with GRUT at EUCF in Wrocław at the end of the season.
Interesting.
There's Levka Volchak's stat line's been relatively quiet by her standards, just a goal and an earlier turnover to her name.
We had that discussion during women's final, and I would probably agree with Charlotte. Just because you don't have the stats we are collecting, which is goals and assists, doesn't mean you're not impacting the game by a lot.
So true. All it tells you is what's happening on the very final pass. Blasman. Molnar jinks his way up line past the much bigger Baumgart. Trying to use that quickness with the first step. High stall, Molnar just sits it out there, floats it around to Blasman. Must have been so close to the stall out, but he manipulated Baumgart enough that he could just float it over his prostrate mark. Menard comes up line, collects in front of Tisson.
That stack was very static, and then at some point everyone started running at the same time. That's why that pick occurred. But Menard would stay with the disc in her hands.
Back in play, Menard. Dishing out to Kalatz. Fakes the blade, then the hammer. Menard has some separation in the backfield, but on the stall rising, Kalatz again puts air underneath it. Blasman bodies out, and the tip allows Blasman to get it on the second attempt, 7-6.
Good pressure from Venderholm, just not as tall a frame as Blasman, and that gives him the edge over it. Tips and catches it in the end zone. Fancy way to score. And with a break, they could close out that first half early.
It's not just the height of Blasman, it's that he's got those very long limbs as well. That just gives him that extra advantage. 7-6, GRUT, as you mentioned, could take half here with a break. If Germany can hold, we got ourselves a cheeky little bit of galaxy point action, which of course we love to see.
Of course, who doesn't? Love to see a galaxy point.
Haters.
They're gonna hate anyway.
True. I assume you're saying that completely unrelated to the music that's going on over on the far side.
Yeah. Actually, yes.
I mean, so was I as well.
People weren't gonna believe us, but you know, Taylor Swift said it best.
Mawson has it in his hands. He's going to pull. Contorts the torso. Ball shapes into the end zone where it's fielded by Kuschel. Förster. Maddie Förster, that is. Taprian in the centre. Dishing back to Maddie Förster. Flame-haired Förster. Tries to find Kuschel as the reset and does so. Now out wide to Holzer. Holzer takes on the aggressive break down the sideline. Good option. Wolchak jinks under, plants to go deep, but just playing it in the backfield at the moment again, the Germans. There's space there for Priyan. It floats up a little bit, but not a problem catching it in front of Bardol. Maddie Förster again, getting towards the red zone now. In fact, firmly in the red zone. Resetting out to Wolchak. Hogan. Continuing the break side flow. Kuschel. Bit of air underneath it, not a problem for Wolchak. Cheeky little lefty through to Priyan. Priyan rolls the wrist across it. Oh, that's not a good bid. Rolled up on the ankles of Hogan on the landing, who thankfully is okay. The attempt was clean enough, but couldn't control himself after he hit the deck. And then the high inside flick from Hogan, who keeps his composure into the end zone, finds Maddie Förster, 7 apiece. We got ourselves some Galaxy point, Christina.
Oh yeah, well deserved for this game. I'm so glad both teams could clean it up and give us a game here. I really liked the way Germany moved from one side to the other side of the pitch and in that red zone. High release flick for the score. We can see the replay here, and that, as you mentioned before, that defense, it was a clean, a good attempt in the end, but Hogan turned around so quickly to try and get that pass on that he kind of stepped in the way of Dunshan. Not saying that it's Hogan's fault whatsoever, but he probably couldn't, Dunshan couldn't really see anymore where Hogan was going because he landed on the ground and rolled over once or twice.
2 goals and assists now for Lasse Hogan. And he's back out there for Germany on Galaxy point, as I think they want to get this break back before half, knowing that GRUT have the 2-for-none opportunity now, because if they can score here, they receive coming out of half, they could open up a 2-point lead. Molnar backpedals to field the pull. Another Galaxy point, of course, after the Open final. I went to Galaxy as well, our 4th Galaxy point of the day. Out of 5 games, pretty good return. Blasman wrenches it down the sideline. He's looking for Molnar. Is he going to get the edge on it? Oh, it did, but that is a sensational layout block from Saskia Neubert. What a bid.
Held defense from Neubert. Jumps up high and early, and she gets the tip in the right second and puts her body on the line.
Yeah, Dunshan didn't go quite, Molnar didn't go quite towards it. I think we're just worrying a little bit about the sideline, and it allowed Neubert that opportunity to fly through with the block. Doing the Seagulls proud. A floaty one into the end zone. Janssen advancing, but not quickly enough. Stulert out to Venderholm. Venderholm powers it downfield to Trautmann. Trautmann back to Stulert. Now Holzer crossing over to the D-line. On to Venderholm. Breaks to Wolchak, wants the continuation. Another player who's crossed over. Can Hogan wriggle free of the clutches of Ten Harken? No, he can't. Wolchak tried to lead him into space, but it was too far.
Yeah, that disc, just not enough float on there.
Will GRUT make the most of the second life? Blasman inside to Molnar. Now Walt Janssen faking the big one. Instead, Menard comes underneath. Tizik and Kulartz going downfield, wanting air underneath it, and Kulartz was bracketed by Hogan and Troutman comes out the winner.
Bit of body contact, but didn't seem to impact the play as Germany with a second opportunity to break for half.
Of course, a break for half would bring us back on serve. And timeout called by Volchak, knowing the importance of this Galaxy point.
Stall 4 on that timeout, quite late, but both of these teams are just taking a breather.
So we're going to take a breather in the booth as well, and we'll see you for the next part of this final very shortly.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate.
Seven apiece, Galaxy point here in the mixed final at Windmill. A scrappy game to start, but both sides have found a little bit of form, and Germany looking to break here to get us into the second half on serve.
Looks like a split stack setup, 2 players on one side, 2 female players isolated on the one, on the other side the male matching players, and a poach in the middle for Molnar.
Checked in, and Volchak, I think, just had it slip out of her hand. Wow. Certainly not how they drew it up. Curse of the turnout is real. Blasman putting a bit of air underneath it to Molnar. Back to Blasman. Try to get more of the offense involved with the around break to Walt Janssen. Dishing off to Menard. Janssen to Blasman. Blasman putting all sorts of air underneath it. Kulartz the target and denied by Troutman. It's a risky shot going from one side of the field to the other because the defenders are in the intermediary space, and Troutman with another block.
Yeah, Troutman really showing her MVP status on that Germany mixed squad here, making it work.
Holzer in the center of his own end zone. And finally opening it up, there is a pick, but Sulat's going to make sure he catches it anyway.
Well done. So open. Tons of space. Unload.
We all know it's a pick, right?
Yeah, I know.
Walt Janssen will catch up.
Had to catch it, though.
Oh, yeah. I think there might be this discussion about what the stall was when the pick occurred.
It was quite a bit earlier because he set up that cut and then he was in the front of the stack and slashed out, but not quite enough towards the break side, so Janssen couldn't really follow and had to go through the stack.
It's been a long first half. It's taken over an hour of game time. And it is so, so tight. Venderholm back to Holzer. Now Lasse Hogan. Hogan wants the underneath cut from Troutman. It's proving such a key defensive force. Right past the bidding Blasman, snuck it in to Hogan. Now Kulartz matching up against Volchak. Trying to get the feet involved on the force, but still gets the around off to Hogan. Now Holzer. Defensive switch passed off by GRUT. Here's Neuber, who got that sick layout block earlier in the point. Troutman. Troutman Wall with the hammer over the top. The only question is it going to come down in bounds? Stulert couldn't get there. Blasman wants to steal a march. Ten Harken's going to take off deep. Volchak flashes into the lane, so the break goes. Molnar continues around. Kulartz down the sideline again, and I think Tizik had already planted to come underneath, and the Germans just watch it float to the floor. It's a tense Galaxy point, Christina.
It really is. It seems like one of the early points in that game. No team really getting the better of the other. Miscommunications all around. We'll see what Germany can do here.
Troutman, she's opening it up herself. She's looking for Volchak. Janssen again knew that it was coming, read it, stepped in front, and in the end, no play has to be made.
Not ideal execution and frustration on both teams.
Troutman just telegraphed that one. 8 turns so far at this point. Again, it's very much like the start of this game. The very first point, in fact, did have exactly 8 turns. Molnar up lines, looked off, but I don't know who else it's going to go to. Swung right in the centre to Kulartz, then Tizik. Janssen low, Molnar takes off. Ten Harken recognises it and goes underneath. Now there's the jack to Molnar. Molnar's going to really have to go some, and he does so as well! Laying out for the Galaxy point grab, and GRUT take half 8-7.
Very fitting for Molnar to have to run it down, lay it out, and with the fingertips get that disc. And the point for half. GRUT in front, but only inches away.
Yeah, when you're a team like GRUT, you can have, of course, I'm sure, a lot of interested parties trying to join, but it's such a hard roster to make. And Philip Molnar is more than justifying his addition in this game. Half-time, eventually, at 8-7. I think we're about to go and throw some disc at an elephant for a bit, so we'll take a little breather while we do so during this extended half-time. Don't you dare go anywhere, because the second half, the final half of Windmill 2023, continues on the other side.
What a blimping match we've got here. Galaxy Point. We've seen a bit of everything. It is all happening, and we're going to run you through some highlights from that first half. It's been an absolute treat this whole weekend long, this match in particular, going back and forth. Germany opened up hot. There was a nice little run of breaks between. GRUT got back on the board, and now it's anybody's choice. I don't know how to slice them. All I know is you got to stay locked on for the second half action coming up next. In the background now we've got the Herbie competition, and now we're going to take a look at some of our first half highlights. There's a quick look. Oh, there's the big bid from Epstein to get one of the early breaks that Germany capitalized. Here's the Walczak sprawling layout, twisting her body up in a couple different ways. There's another look at that. She looked in a bit of pain by the end of that one, but makes the play, gets the goal. There's the Blastman, Mac to himself, playing the body, using the long arms, and getting it done in Tokai's with the kick spike. Philip Molnar can't get that one as the Neubert layout goes through. And here after the timeout, Tizik shuts the door with that monster hand block in front. Final look from our Tokai halftime show. There is the bidding body, and there is a bit of work from Tokai. What you're watching back home. Been a heck of a match. We're gonna take a quick look at the first half stats to go with it. I think they're coming up in just 1 second. While we're waiting for these stats, there they are. 8-7, of course, Galaxy Point. Breaks are very simple, 2-1, just off serve. 18 turns to 19. Obviously, the differential in turns equates to the same as the differential in score. They're both doing it clean with equality. GRUT a bit more efficient when they do get a turn. So that will be very telling tale to see if they can get that one break, get a couple more Ds in the second half, as they have proven very able to capitalize when they get them. We're going to wrap up our Tokai halftime show. Thanks for joining. We've got an extended half as we have here at Windmill all weekend, or all finals day long. Stay with us. We'll be back with second half action after this. Thanks.
Welcome back to Windmill 2023. Mixed final action, the last game of the weekend. GRUT from here in the Netherlands taking on the German mixed national team. And GRUT up a break will be receiving to begin the second half. 8-7 the score. Benji Rees alongside Christina Obermeier with Hannah Pendlebury, providing us with a little bit of statistical breakdown and analysis. Christina, if you can sum up that first half in a sentence, and I know that's a tough ask because it was an interesting half, to put it mildly. How do you do it?
I couldn't do it in one sentence. To be
I
honest, I really couldn't. It was a battle. We had rain for a little bit. We had a lot of wind, big plays, weird stuff. And altogether, not a very clean first half. Very controversial as well, because we had a time where
the start of the game was a little bit ugly, let's be honest. They cleaned it up. Both of GRUT's breaks were clean. They went from 5-3 down to 6-5 up. And, across two possessions, the third possession of the game, third point of the game, I should say, and then the last point of the half. The German mixed team generated 9 turns on GRUT in those 2 points and could not put in any of them. We wondered if the first point, when GRUT got 4 break chances, didn't take them, and then Germany broke on the next point, whether that would be decisive. So far, it has not proved to be. But we've still got, I was going to say, a full half to go. Not quite because of how long the first half took, but it's going to be so tight. Maybe getting that 1 break advantage going into the second half might make all the difference for GRUT, because Germany now need 2 breaks to swing this back in their favour.
Of course, GRUT with the hometown advantage. Also, as you mentioned in the first half, they have won Windmill quite a few times, let's put it that way.
I mean, the last 4 times, very much so. It's almost like I'm their lucky charm.
Yeah, you are, Benji, I'm sure. With that colour, you have to be. Spotting the...
sorry, do you see anyone wearing orange out there? I do not.
Well, but it's the...
I know it's the Dutch colours, all right. But we, of course, as ULTI.TV, are completely impartial. If we were not impartial, we'd point out that one of the key players for GRUT in that first half was ULTI.TV's own Philip Molnar.
Yeah, we got our...
But we are completely impartial, so we wouldn't point that out.
Of course we are.
It's weird, because in amongst all the scrappiness, there were some crazy plays from both sides.
Yeah, some amazing stuff. It's not that the teams aren't stacked with talent. It's more like execution and maybe hastiness, final jitters. And I think Germany really have a lot of potential on that team. Couldn't quite get there yet.
We'll see if GRUT can make the most of carrying that break into the interval as they come out on offense to begin the second half, the last half here of this edition of Windmill, number 17. And Janssen deep to Blasman, and they could have not have wished for a better start to this half than that, Christina.
No, really not. That put was perfectly weighted into the end zone. I really love, though, that Germany always have a help defender dragging along, whether it's male or female matching. So Trautmann and Stuhler both running towards that deep shot, trying to put on pressure. This time around, not quite fast enough. Only Blasman in pursuit there. But it has worked out for the German national team. Maybe 2 to 3 times where...
They've definitely generated blocks on those deep puts into congested spaces. And actually, to be fair, both sides haven't their spacings not been as precise as really they would like for a final here. And also for GRUT looking at a long club season ahead going into, I mean, their big events, UCF, back all the way in October in Wrocław in Poland. And for the German national team, Limerick's next month, and there's definitely, regardless of the result, there's definitely some things they'll be wanting cleaning up if they're going to take home gold in Ireland.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to look at the bigger picture here. Windmill is a 3-day tournament, and you have 8 games in those 3 days. So they have had to grind quite a bit already. When it comes to Limerick, they will have 2 games a day. They're going to be...
It's a very different schedule.
Rested, yeah.
And Germany will be in the showcase opener against home nation Ireland in the mixed division. Oh my God, I'm so excited for it already. We'll have to temper that for a while because we've still got this mixed final to play. Hogan catching the underneath from Murray Förster. Now Hogan opening it up. His deep puts were on the money in the second half against Great Britain, but this time he overshoots Volchak, and that's quite a difficult task.
It is. Volchak pursuing, giving it her all, but not quite there. And that disc hanging in the end zone for a bit, not enough.
Interesting, of course, for Germany. There, probably don't necessarily have the home support here. Much like that opening game, when you could bet that there will be a very loud Irish contingent supporting. That one, oh, it's a floater. Steneker, I think, knew that he didn't get the right beat on it. Floated up and plucked out relatively nonchalantly in the end by the Volchak. Foul called. Maybe a little bit of a push off there potentially from Holzer.
I think I heard Steneker gasp.
I don't know why I pushed off you there to indicate what a push-off foul was. Obviously, you know. And
Yeah.
it doesn't come through on the camera, but
That's okay.
just brimming with excitement a little bit here.
Aren't we all? So it's retracted.
Yep, in the end, and I wonder if this first pass is just going to go on the inside backhand to Holtz, inside forehand to Holzer.
I wouldn't do it. Like, I think
It's
it
too
could be,
obvious.
but like Stenica can jump in there easily. He's gonna be ready for that.
Around backhand potentially, or just fake that off and get someone else coming under. Well, Holzer is going to come through under himself. I think he was like, nope, that's too obvious. We're not doing that. In case Stenica can set the trap. A round break to Priyan on the far sideline. Centering to Hogan, getting it out of his mitts quickly. Holzer to Volchak, putting some air underneath it. Sensational layout snag from Stef Kushal, who I think comes up very gingerly again.
Shaking his shoulder.
Yeah, Brouwer thought he was close, and he was, but Kushal, fair play to him, committed to it. Must have been very tight to that far sideline as well.
I think that's what they're discussing now, asking for the VAR.
How can we have a video assistant referee when there's no referee? That looks pretty fine to me that he's in bounds. I mean, you can have a look at it again if you want.
Yeah, I think his foot hits first, and it's good. Of course, players from both teams are looking at that replay. We get another slow motion look here. Once again.
I think someone's watching it back on a phone on the far side, or maybe has a photo of it, and it's like, it's in. I mean, we've said our piece. What we think doesn't even matter, of course. It's all about the players involved getting to a resolution they're happy with, and that is going to be that Kushal was inbounds, and thankfully it's good to continue as well because he already had to take an injury sub earlier in the game. Down the line, it's a bit of a floater to Priyan, but she boxes out Dam towards the back of the end zone, and you can see the Priyan's trying to get the energy back in the German camp there as they trail 9-8.
That was a perfect put for Priyan, pushing Dam towards that front cone. You always want to protect that front cone first, but then this goes up from Volchak, floating, and from Priyan, like sitting there for Priyan to run under it. And that is a hold for Germany. Quite an exciting point. Gotta say, even if it's clean holds for either side, which this wasn't, of course, but still, there's always so much excitement for every single point because everyone's fighting so hard to get these discs off.
Yeah, both sides have turned it over a fair amount. I feel like when on those points where GRUT have turned it over on offense, they've really turned it over. But I think there might be more points with turns from Germany's offense. Let me have a look at that. Apparently I'm wrong. No, I am right. Yeah, GRUT's turnovers are tend to come in bunches on points, but they have more clean holds than the Germans. Minard. Still count getting high now, and she's able to find the release valve in Walt Janssen. Back to Minard. Trying to marshal the offense. Janssen again coming underneath, being marked by Wallace. And Janssen bombs the flick. He's looking for Blasman, and he is denied by Stulert emphatically. What a block.
What a way to get a D. Stuhler jumping up high and getting over Blasman.
Holtz has come over to play a bit of defense now because the Germans know with time running out, they're running out of time to get the blocks. You live by the huck, you die by the huck sometimes with Fritz. Out in front of Venderholm. Ten Haken peels it back a little bit. Reaching snag made by Wallace. A little bit of an awkward release on that flick, but it doesn't matter when your target is Troutman, and they break for 9-all.
I gotta shout Justin Wallace out here. It's actually not an awkward release. This is the way he throws those flicks, and they are on the money.
Hey, he throws it like that. I still think it looks awkward to me, but it was effective, and that's the most important thing.
Much needed break here for the German national team. We see a replay of Tim Stuhlert grabbing that disc, picking it out of the sky. And then the point for Trautmann, reaching it up and over Kulatz. What a matchup those two have been having.
9 apiece, and just over 5 minutes left in this game. Nearly 900 of you watching along with us here on the English restream, of course, because there is also the Dutch restream available. The commentators doing a bang-up job towards our left-hand side. And yet there's only 46 of you who've liked it. Curious. I think everyone knows what to do. Help support what we do, liking, subscribing, all of that good stuff. And hey, for the cost of a pint of beer a month, you can help support ULTI.TV on our Patreon and bring more free live streams to the people with our sick full setup coverage like we've got today. All the cameras out there, the winner's circle, the drone, the pre and post game interviews. We can only do that with all your support. Not the cleanest of catches of the ball from Molnar, but he did catch it, and that is the important thing. Everyone's set up very deep, which I must admit I'd have liked to see them adjust a little bit. Still rising against the massive Holzer. Janssen. Once the break, back to Molnar. They're trying to utilize a bit of that size mismatch on the mark, although I must say all of Germany's males out there at the moment, pretty big units. Janssen to Blasman. Crossed Epstein over to the O-line now. Stoppage.
A foul called in the middle of the field. Lola Dam pushing off maybe, just wrong-footed.
Dam and Epstein both on the O-line here as things get a bit tight with GRUT having just been broken for only the second time all game. Both sides with 2 breaks, but of course with GRUT able to get one, an extra one going into half-time, they made that count. Holding after the break. Janssen down the line to Blasman. Epstein underneath, now Dam. There's a swing available to Molnar. Plants and then comes back to retrieve it. But feeling like they're just going to be a bit more circumspect and sensible with the disc this time. Tizik takes off deep but looked away. Inside break nicely to Minard. Janssen was marshalling the stack, so there was no continuation. Epstein, oh, an expansive blade over the top to Blasman, and he just did not get the release of that one right at all. A way tougher reception than it needed to be.
Yanking his body into the air, trying to get that disc.
The angle of it is taking that away from the receiver. Think of a hammer over the top there, taking it back more into Blasman's path.
Yeah, it would have been flowing into his hand. He could have still laid out for it if he wanted that. We would have been there for that. But that trailing edge grab just never going to work. And Germany with an opportunity to break again.
And take the lead, but Minard with a sick layout block. That's not what she's known for, but she can deliver when required. Blasman will pick it up right on the end zone line here. Trying to isolate Lola Dam. Luterman is the defender, and Tizik just splits the difference right down the middle, collects it for the hold, but you can tell how tight things are, and the tension is mounting with not long now before the cap comes on.
We've seen Germany again and again not connecting on those first resetting passes, and they've, every single time they started off of static play, they've struggled so much more than when they try to go with the flow, start dynamic, and get like a quick start into one or the other direction. And I think they really have to improve on this going into EUC.
A sick layout block there, by the way, from Minard to get the disc back. I think GRUT's problems there started from the pool. Mona's catching it quite deep in his own end zone, and everyone else is pretty much miles downfield. And I feel like there's not that connectivity and that synergy there. You need to be able to, yes, I know that you want to kind of, this is where you start from the pool, but you need to be able to adjust. If the pool's going to the back of your own end zone, you don't need everyone stacking beyond the brick mark, really, just to start for an underpass. At the very least, because everyone's so deep already, yes, there's so much deep field to aim at, but you've got to boom it already that it's traveling such a way just to get beyond them.
Yeah, we can really adjust. They can really adjust a little bit to field position as well. You know, just making sure you're hitting the person with the right intention and the right movement. Also, the turn we saw was trying to hit Blasman in space where he, with a throw into space where he would never get in time. Just have to think about these decisions again.
Hogan faking the big. You can see that Mawson is really sitting off there as they try and pass around. 3 male matching players at this point, all in the backfield for the Germans. Now they're going to try and get some things going downfield. Volchak wanted the big option, but it wasn't there. Hogan couldn't catch the riser. Thankfully, there was backup from lurking, but he only just got it past the bidding defender, who I think was Steneker. Floated out into space, past the bidding Kulin. And Volchak fits it in there to Priyan, but a bit of a harem-scarum possession with bodies all over the place.
Layout after layout after layout, and catching it, putting it into the end zone. That works. I mean, if you have people that can fly around, why not use it?
I mean, in an ideal world, you wouldn't have to, but they got the job done. That's the important thing for Germany.
It also just kudos to the pressure of GRUT making them lay out, because if there wasn't as much defensive pressure on the German on that German O-line, they wouldn't have to lay out for every single pass. Could be able to put it up in space, and we saw Steneker flying twice.
I actually think if Priyan doesn't lay out for that, Hogan might catch it. But if you're Priyan, why think about taking the risk?
You never know, especially because Priyan was right at that front cone line, running towards the line. She couldn't know, and as you said, couldn't take the risk of waiting, and maybe the disc wasn't for her this time, but it wouldn't be wise for her to assume someone else is behind her. Just give it your all and maybe get that point just with the layout if you know that you can lay it out and catch it.
Just under 1,000 of you watching, and I know we can crack 4 figures. We can crack 4 figures easy if you wanted to, because why wouldn't you want to tell people about this potentially sudden death finish we got brewing here at Windmill? Floats up, but not a problem for Janssen. Back to Minard. They're poaching off those swings. GRUT so far happy to utilize that. Minard and Janssen, only players involved really at the moment with the disc for foot. Collard's underneath. Minard to Janssen. Back to Minard, who boxes out. There's the deep shot looking for Tizik, and Tizik just lost sight of it, turned over the wrong shoulder.
She might have thought that was an inside-out shot, putting her into position to just run and catch it, but that disc angling outside in from Minard, and Germany with an opportunity to break here.
They've just not been anywhere near clinical enough after the turn, have the Germans. It was Minard who got the layout block last time to get the disc back for GRUT. Will it be her or someone else, if anyone can provide it? Hogan going deep instantly, looking for Venderholm. Venderholm's got separation, and Venderholm goes coast to coast for the German break. 1 pass ultimate. Hogan comes over to the D-line, and he bombs it, full field flick. Germany back on top. It's 11-10.
That shot was on the money, and great structure from Germany to set up in that split stack and have Vanderholm all alone, being the only person to cut deep and pulling away these help defenders that we've seen GRUT and the German national team utilize again and again to just isolate him. And then I don't think this shot could have been more perfect. That's the Hogan doing
Lasse Hogan things, essentially.
I was just gonna find a fancy way to say it, but there's no other explanation than just, you know, doing what he does best. The reason he's on that team, one of many, of course.
So just to work out whether the cap went just before or just after that point. We think it's game to 12, but we're just trying to get confirmation. Game to 12 confirmed. So GRUT need the hold here, and then we've got Universe. Germany looking to break for the win. Minard down the line to Molnar. Glassman down the line, pick.
Loads of traffic in that during that GRUT offense. They know it's a must-score goal to stay in.
Glassman down the line. He wanted the expansive blade across the field. Molnar gets the beat down the line, and we're going all the way. Sudden death, Universe point. Here we come at 11-11, game to 12.
Exciting stuff, and that game deserves nothing else than a Universe point. Germany setting themselves up perfectly with just a bit of edge here, getting that late break. And it could really go either way. The only thing I'm hoping for is not to have a 10 turnover point again, because I couldn't take it. My heart isn't strong enough, I gotta tell you.
So interesting, what do you do here? To GRUT, do you put out a first choice D-line, but then maybe you don't have the offensive stars? If you're Germany, do you put out a first choice O-line, but then if you don't turn it, are you gonna be able to get it back? Let's have a look at who we've got out there for both sides. GRUT are pulling. It looks like they've got Suzanne Slob, Lola Dam, Flor Kulartz, Jakob Dunschan, the Austrian, Dan Epstein's out there, as well as that is Walt Janssen and Joris Steneker. So a bit of mix and match. For Germany, looking mostly like a first choice O-line. Justin Wallace, Dennis Holzer, Nicky Prian's out there, as well as Domi Lurking, Lev Kovalchak. Troutman's come over to play offense, and you've got Lasse Hogan out there as well. Blading pull that bounces before being fielded. Hogan. Resetting back to Holzer. And oh, it's a drop from Volchak. She just went for it too casually. Wow. Can GRUT make her pay in the most brutal of fashions? Dunschan picking up quickly. Janssen finds a sliver of an inside lane. Now looking downfield. Epstein underneath, past the contact of Hogan. Janssen's trying to jink his way free. Gonna be shot down the line. Janssen with the layout for the victory! GRUT, once again, for the 5th time on the trot, are your Windmill mixed division champions, and they couldn't have done it in a more sensational style.
Cramming it into the cram hole. I'm stealing that quote from Stef Pazzo because it really was tight, moving up that far line, and GRUT do it again 5 times in a row. Can you believe it? I can surely not.
If you look at this game and think, well, teams this quality, to get to 12-11, it must have been a bit scrappy, and at times it was, but it had more than its fair share of big plays. And in the end, of all things, the drop from Lev Kovalchuk to give GRUT the disc on Universe. And in those big moments, you don't necessarily think plays, you think players. And Walt Janssen lays out for the victory, to the delight of his teammates and the home crowd. Heartbreaker for Germany, but Janssen in the end got the job done.
Yeah, GRUT with an all-star team here. We'll see how what they're looking like at the end of this European season. If they show up and play like they played today, they will go back to glory, I'm sure. Germany, on the other hand, did not, in my opinion, have the best game. So many unforced errors, one or the other drop that maybe wasn't necessary. It started too casually, really. And in general, just I've seen them play so much better this weekend.
Both sides we've seen play so much better this weekend.
And Germany, of course, it's a heartbreaker, but it might just be the reality check they needed before going into EUC, knowing that they have stuff to work on, but they can work through it and trust their teammates in moments when it's necessary. Yeah,
there are those times when you learn more in defeat than you do in victory. Germany, they'll hope it's one of those moments. Obviously, it won't be at EUC because they're not a national side, and there isn't a Dutch mixed team because they're going in open and women's. Stef Pazzo and Hannah Pendlebury have wrangled a couple of GRUT stars who had a huge say in determining which way that contest was eventually decided. Walt Janssen and Anna Minard will be joining us shortly. I mean, I don't know if I've recovered yet, so God knows how they're going to be able to string together a coherent thought. But hey, they'll try their darndest. I'm very sure. Just going to wait till we get the A-OK. See the both sides there going through the hand slaps and into the spirit circle. Hannah, over to you.
You can do the what's next.
Okay.
So I'm here with Anna Minard and Walt Janssen. We are delighted. What a spicy final, folks. Right, super happy question first. How did it feel getting that layout to finish off that mixed final and the whole tournament?
Yeah, I think it shows how we've played the whole tournament. Everything was there, but we really had to work for it. I'm not really known for my layout, so I'm kind of happy I still had it in the pocket to pull it out at the last second. No, it feels amazing. Super tough game. Lovely way to finish.
Absolutely. And what does it mean, Anna, to win in front of your home fans? You have lots of friends here, so you're getting lots of cuddles on the sideline.
Yeah, well, every year we kind of manage to stand here again, and every year I'm saying like, maybe people you can come watch the final, but I'm not sure. So we always feel the pressure to get here, and yeah, we somehow managed again to do it this year, and I'm feel very supported by my home team, family, friends, everyone. It's extra fun to win and make them watch, so it's nice.
So Anna, I'm going to throw a bonus question at you. So we saw you working really dominantly in sort of those hander spaces, but what do you think was the big adjustment that notched you over the edge of the Germans in the end?
Ooh, well, at some point we put the ladies in the back handling and the guys in the front, and that worked pretty well actually, and we had like 1-2 score, and I think when we adapted this in the game, we made it easy on ourselves and somehow scored easily. So, or easily we scored. Yeah.
Well, we might see a little bit of that tactic used maybe at EUC in Limerick. And to finish us off, Walt, so this Windmill in the books. What's next? The world?
Yeah, we say that every 4 years, right? Has not come our way yet. But yeah, first up is regionals. So we're focusing on regionals, getting players there in Sweden is going to be a challenge for us, but we're putting all our efforts in going there, and of course trying to defend our title at finals. And after that, who knows? Who knows? We're planning some stuff, but it's too early to disclose.
All right, well, a little bit of excitement for you then as the rest of the season emerges, but congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Enjoy your celebrations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back to you guys. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah, and thanks
That was
Walt
curious.
Jensen and Menard for volunteering their time after the game. Going to have a quick look at the stats for the game. Of the 6 breaks in total, only the first that came Germany's way in the second point overall was not clean. Every other time a D-line was able to get it for the break, it was on their first possession. You see it there. Equal number of turns in the end. GRUT, the fact that they were able to carry that break into the second half proved decisive, Christina.
Yeah, it was. Look at that, 22 turns on either side. It is a lot. 44 combined turns. Some teams don't get that through a weekend of Frisbee.
I mean, not teams I've played on, but yes, I do see your point that, yeah, it's a bit of an aberration for them that they play a game with quite so much kind of decision-making errors, execution errors, just not great all the way through, really. Very up and down from both sides, and it'll sting for Germany. But for them, this was not the goal. Obviously, you want to win Windmill, but they're still focused on EUC in Limerick next month. And we're not going to see them for a while, but don't worry, because the club season will continue later. There is going to be the trophy ceremony on the field after the game. So just going to run you through the results. We streamed the women's bronze medals match earlier, so you know that Mermaid Lumberjacks were the victors. France second and Germany first after a sensational women's final. Mooncatchers won the open division over France, another belter of a game. The Czech Republic took third off stream. And of course, GRUT, mixed division champions with this win here over Germany. And we streamed the mixed bronze medal match later as well. Earlier as well, I should say, with Great Britain over Italy, the Spirit Division winners, of course. Belgium in the women's division, Chile from Australia in the open division, and Norway in the bumper 40-team mixed division. So all of those teams, by the way, by virtue of winning Spirit, they are in next year. Should they want it, you get a free bid.
Ooh, Chile, come back next year from Australia.
I mean, it's a long way to come, especially in a World's year, but hey, could be good prep.
And it's definitely worth it.
Oh, 100%. And that is about it for ULTI.TV's coverage of Windmill. I think we've got a lot of setup to do, but a huge thank you for everyone who enjoyed our coverage this weekend, whether it's just joining us on finals day with the whole shebang, whether you were watching one of the 2 pitches we streamed earlier in the weekend as GRUT make their way into the winner's circle. Maybe you were watching the drone coverage we had. Huge thanks to the Eurodisc Best Perspective drone as well. That was sick. Tokai for providing the halftime sponsoring and supporting the halftime shows. Force as well for providing us with our very fashionable swag. You can get your own t-shirts, by the way, on the Force Ultimate website. Highly recommend them, although I appreciate we might have a bit of skin in the game. Who's to say? ULTI.TV, our schedule continues unabated. If you want more Ultimate next weekend, well, we don't blame you. And you're thinking, oh, I don't know where to go. Does London Invite take your fancy? I mean, it takes mine, but if it doesn't, we're streaming Swiss Nationals as well. So 2 for the price of none, because that's how we roll here on ULTI.TV. We're committed to making Ultimate coverage free to air, and if that's something you want to support, like, subscribe, you know all the calls to action by this point. Make sure you become a member of our Patreon, patreon.com/ULTI.TV, ULTI.TV, our website as well, for more information about what we do. And for as little as a couple of copper a month, you can help grow the growth of the game and bring more sick events like this one. This is the time now when I do the thank yous, and I'm almost certainly going to forget people. So let me try and do this methodically. Our stats keepers this weekend, Elias Holnitsky joining us for the first time, did a bang-up job. Jamie Rabbits as well. He was excellent before, I think the weekend just caught up with him a little bit as well. All our tech and production crew, Milan, Felix, Will, Nick and Lolo on the drones, Lucas powering our third streams, Chips, Who else have we got? Lucia. We've got so many people. I'm just trying to make sure that I've not forgotten anyone at this point. Pierre, I think that's good. Our commentary team as well. Charlotte Terrason, Stef Pazzo, Hannah Pendlebury, and Christina Obermeyer next to me. A huge thank you from all of us. We so appreciate your support, and we will see you double trouble next weekend at Swiss Nationals and London Invite. From all of us here at ULTI.TV, Benji Rees saying we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, ultimate.
It's the line.